Hello and welcome. I'm Thomas. This is channel called Wonder of Existence. I'm happy to have Mike with me again to have a following discussion about time. So last time, Mike, I don't recall when it was that. It was a long time ago.
Yeah. It was,
we discussed.
Feels like 5 minutes, but it could have been a week ago.
Yeah. I got a feeling it's been at least a week, but we got a discussion about time, some basics of time. It's such a difficult topic that I'm not sure if we come up to any kind of conclusion. Although we barely come to any conclusion, it's just a discussion, speculations.
Conclusions is not really the point.
Yeah, it's not the point. But we discussed a couple of points related to time. But this time, I would like to talk to you about time travelers. It's still something related to time, if we believe that time exists. And so, what about the time travelers? Let's do the quick sum up call. We have people claiming that they've seen some human beings, looking like human beings at least, some guys who were using some either strange devices, or they were wearing in a really weird way, or they were behaving in a very weird way, and still they were part of the let's say social meetings somewhere, and they've been filmed or pictured somewhere, and so you can see that on YouTube, and it seems like those guys don't fit to the current environment. So lots of people tend to say that those people come from future. They are here to, I don't know, check how what's going on. There are there's some certain purpose, most likely. But I'm just trying to figure out if that's even possible. You know, we can think that, we can assume that there's someone from the future, but we will have to define what future means and define what present means and the past, as we discussed in the previous time. And assuming that there's no current time, there's only future and the past, and they come from the future. Even if we take into consideration only the spirit, I would be maybe able to imagine that that's possible. But with the physical body, how to teleport your physical body from somewhere to somewhere, unless this somewhere and here is actually the same place, physically the same place, but sort of in different time. How do you see that? What do you think about that? Do you think it's possible? Do you think that those news are actually something that might be real?
Really fascinating. I love time travel. The idea of it. Sort of science fiction birth from time travel is one of the big themes of science fiction. I love it. Whether it's possible in the way that it's depicted in movies or stories, I really don't know. The idea of a time machine or a box that you go into and then suddenly you transfer fully, you come out of the future and you go into the past, or vice versa, and then you're suddenly in that other reality or that other time line of the same reality. I don't believe it can be possible because of the whole time travel paradox, which is the fact that you came back changes something, unless that was part of the whole thing anyway, that you only went back because you'd already been back. So that you don't change anything because the fact that you turned up was already destined. So if you went to the past, you didn't change anything in the past because you'd already been to the past. So you came from the future to your past when you were living the past. Mm-hmm. So nothing can be changed. If it's all determined, I can understand it. I can imagine it could be possible. But if it's not determined, then you would, just by being in the past, you would change something. And that would change then the future. And if it changes the future, you might not go back to the past. You know, it's a paradox which is, it's impossible to resolve. There's loads of films that try to resolve it. But the one way to get over it is that neither the past nor the future nor the present is real anyway. So you don't go there with a physical body. You know, you can project there, and even that would have to be written into the program. You know, that it was already part of the storyline. So you don't alter the storyline, but maybe it doesn't matter that you alter it, because it will resolve itself at some point. If you change the past so that you didn't actually come to the past, then you wouldn't have changed it. So it would work its own way out. I don't know how, but it would work its own way out. But I have another vision on that you can view the past or the future, but not physically. And you can view it without being in it, or you can view it by being in it, but not as a physical entity. Maybe through the eyes of another physical entity, so you become another physical entity that already exists in that timeline, or you do it as a sort of spirit, ghost sort of thing. And that falls in line with all my own ideas of that dreaming and lucid dreaming and out-of-body experiences and things like that. And some of the experiences I've had have taken me to places that I think, well, I know what this is, but it looks different because it's in a different time period. I was in London, and it was definitely the 1800s. It wasn't anywhere in the future. And I've had a couple where I've seen horse and carts walking around and barrow boys and people in weird clothing because it was the past. And maybe you can do that. And that fits in line with my belief of what reality is anyway, that it's all consciousness. It doesn't really exist outside of mind. It's like imagination. So, of course, in imagination, everything's possible. So it's easy enough to imagine this character moving back in time to view things in this. And then, of course, we experience that.
But if I look at this from technology point of view again, why I'm using that, because in technology point of view, if you want to go from point B to point F, you need to have the reference point. So let's say you call this point A, and this F, for example, right? And only then, if you know that you're moving from A to F, then you know that you need to go back from F to A in order to get to the starting position. So if I start time traveling and I move to point F in time, and then I want to go back exactly to the same moment when I left, which obviously doesn't exist anymore because time flies. So first of all, I can use this reference point if in my imagination there's a time machine created and we can use it, and I just type point A to point F and then from point F to point A. Then I can move back to the exact point when I moved in time. But first of all, this will be exact moment in time when I left this current time, but actually not the actual time, because actually during the moving to point F, some time been utilized. So I shouldn't be actually going back from point F to point A, but maybe to point B or C or whatever. But that's my way of thinking, which is not aligned with what you just said, because this is still connected with our physical bodies. But
I think I'm not really able to answer it from the perspective of science, because I'm not a scientist. I'm not. I'm not a physicist, so I can't. The trouble is, most time travel problems and discussions are all based on physical reality from a physicist's standpoint, perspective, and you have to be a physicist to actually involve yourself in that discussion, I think, because, well, they do it better anyway because they know what they're talking about on that field. So I can't really go there. You know,
no, that's fine. That's fine. I'm just using this because we're talking about time and we moving from one place to another within the time, a subject called time. But why I'm talking about that, about this moving physically from and the reference point and etc. I'm pretty sure you've heard about the experiment Philadelphia. Did you? Yeah. So, huge ship, American ship, and the people on board, soldiers or Navy guys, like actually, disappearing, and plenty of people confirming that yes, they just disappeared. At least disappeared to their naked eye. When they come back, there was a very graphical view, very disturbing view. Why? Because what happened, according to the people who claim that they've seen it, some bodies were sort of like welded into the metal. Yeah. To the metal. Yeah. They were like part of the metal. Like you could see some legs, heads, whatever, and some people were still alive. If someone could only confirm that yes, that really happened, then it's astonishing. That's something completely out of space to me. And I wouldn't be able to understand that. But if that happened, if that really happened, then it means that there is some technology already tested in 40s of the previous century, which seems like working. Maybe they got some miscalculation in terms of the reference point, and that's what happened.
There is a discussion, rumor, you could say, that the military, so the American military, or the governments, the secret side of things, that they've got a machine that can view the future. Not that they can send people there, but they can certainly view it, and they know exactly what's going to happen in the US or in the world right now, talking about all the future events that are coming up. They already know what's happening. So with what's happened over the last, say, 2 years or 4 years with say, Trump in office, and then the Democrats trying to get him out and then getting in, there's this story going on that there's a group of people that's with Trump, and they already knew that the Democrats were going to retake the White House. And it's not just the Democrats, it's supposed to be the deep state. But they know the playbook of the deep state. They know what they're going to do and when they're going to do it, because they can view it from this particular apparatus which can view the future. So they can counter everything that they say the deep state are doing. They can counteract because they know they're going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's quite a fascinating idea. But that's obviously what would be a sort of a continuation of experiments back in the 50s when the Philadelphia experiment was done, or the 40s, whenever it was done.
Yeah. 40s.
And if they could do that then they're going to have more technology now.
Yeah.
And who knows, we're going to get onto the ideas of hidden information, hidden technologies, alien technologies and everything. Time is another dimensional construct. And any advanced alien civilization might have already sussed that and created something where they can. That's why they don't need to come from another universe or another galaxy and take thousands of years to get here. They can go there instantly because space and time are constructs that they can bypass. And it's not about travelling faster than light, it's about already being there instantly.
Yeah,
and that could be the sort of technology that's been handed down, that enables something like the Philadelphia experiment to take place uncontrolled. You know, if you don't have the right alignment of bodies and ship, and bodies are going to end up in the middle of the ship if you don't get right to the right place. It's all.
But this is so fascinating.
It's not beyond belief.
Yeah.
And I've got an open enough mind to say, well, what I don't know, I can't dismiss.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know it, I do not dismiss it.
Exactly. Let me tell you this way. I'm not sure if you've heard about it recently. I mean, recently, like maybe a month ago, there's been some experiment taking place where scientists been trying to move some structures like atoms, very basic atoms, from place A to place B, and they succeeded in doing so. They said that that's the beginning of new era, because if that can be done, more advanced, more complex, let's call it that, more complex structures will be tested in order to be moved from place A to place B. But moving, like not moving, like taking it very quickly from point A to B, but materialize from one place, so dematerialize and materialize in a different place by keeping the characteristics of the atom and sort of recreating the same on the other side, which means that it's not really the same atom. It's the atom which is identical with the atom called A, but physically it's not atom A. It's some other atom created. It's like a printer. You've got the data and you want to print it out. You've got some information coded in this one atom and you print it out in the physical shape, creating atom on the other side, in the other point. But anyway, that experiment confirms that if that is possible, then probably more complex structures can be recreated as well. Which comes to the point where me as a kid watching the Star Trek from 80s with Jean-Luc Picard, and Jean-Luc Picard being on the board of the Enterprise and going, saying to computer, cold whiskey, you know, and click, and the cold whiskey is standing over the bottle of whiskey or whatever, I don't know, lasagna, please, click, it's there. It might be possible. That's why I love the Star Trek, because it's if you look at the Star Treks from 80s, you can see that some devices they use in this movie completely not reachable in 80s. They are in use these days.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So why shouldn't we think that something might be happening in 20 years from now on, which might be called teleportation, and you can teleport maybe some basic things, but maybe I can move the glass from A to B. But you know, the human body, which is so complex, to move it from A to B and recreate on the other side, it's a different story. And then what about the soul? What about yourself in it? If you recreate yourself, even if it's identically physically as you are, does it still contains this link to your soul, to your spirit? That's another aspect, and that's also a very fascinating one. So all those topics, time related.
They're all connected. If you can move, if you can teleport throughout space, you can probably teleport throughout time. But that's really brings up the question of what is space and what is time. And maybe space doesn't exist without time. Maybe time doesn't exist without space.
That might be the case.
You know,
when you said about moving the objects from A to B, the thought came to my head. I didn't want to interrupt you at that time, but you said that instead of traveling with the speed of light or close to the speed of light, you can just basically pop up in other place. But how can you do that? Some scientists claim that you can actually fold the the physical reality. So it's like a piece of paper. If you are here and here, instead of traveling this way, you can just travel. You have to just do.
That's the whole idea about wormholes, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've seen that. Yeah, but that's that's assuming that space and time is physical. And it's separated by atoms and made up of atoms. But suppose it isn't. Suppose it's an illusion, and So I mean, it's like on a computer screen. You can make something appear somewhere else quite easily. It doesn't have to move there. It's pixels, and instead of the pixels lighting up in there to create that, it lights up there instantly. I experience that in dreams as well. You can go from one place to another instantly, and why can't you do it here as well? That's according to my philosophy. So this is also a dream, but I just don't know how to do it yet. But it doesn't say it's not possible. I still believe it probably is. But we've got to realise that this is a dream. If we realise that this is a dream, then we'll know that we only have to think it, and we do. And which I've discussed in other talks we've had about this reality also being a dream, that it's all created in mind. That means that all space and time is also just a construct of imagination, and it's just the experience of it that's real and not the actual thing itself. So, I mean, you think of Amsterdam in your head, and then you suddenly transport yourself to, say, Paris. Well, you can instantly think of Paris. Yeah. You haven't taken any time to get there. You haven't had to think of the route from Amsterdam to Paris. You're automatically there. And where is that thought in your head? It's in exactly the same place as Amsterdam is. So there's no space and there's no time. You can actually put the two together. You can put Amsterdam and Paris and mix them over the top of each other, so you can view the two things simultaneously. That means there is no space, there's no time. There's no time and space inside your imagination, inside your thoughts. There's no size. Everything's happening. Even if you think of like a moment when you were 10 years old, and maybe a moment of today, and then a moment maybe of a dream that you're having for your future, when you imagine your future, you can have all those three things inside your head in the same place. Mm-hmm. So you're experiencing time. You can go from past to future without any space of time, any problems in, and you don't change the past if you think about it, because you go back to it in your memory. You don't change it. You don't change the story. And that's part of the reason that I believe more and more. That's why I hold on to this idea that everything is illusion. Even this one. This one is dream as well. And we just follow a story, because that's our experience. Without the storyline of space and time, we would have a different experience. But we need that experience. We want that experience. So we create a world or a story in which we can experience space and time, so that we can experience that continuation, bit by bit by bit, instead of all in one go. It's got its function. Space and time has got a very real function, and you can only really experience it in a limited physical environment. And it's only an illusory physical environment, but it's still experienced as a physical environment.
This is so fascinating. When I think about what you just said, that it might be all imagination and memories, and the memories are just records somewhere on a database which we call Akashic Chronicles. Just imagine that this data is there. Or let's say it this way, all those people who go through the NDE or OBE or even lucid dreams, they claim to be able to travel without a time, without using a time. What does it mean? It means it goes exactly with what you just said, because you don't travel physically,
This whole point. This is more and more of that is understood now. We used to call that astral travel, but it's been becoming more popular. It's called just astral projection, because you don't actually travel anymore. They don't even call it out of body experience, because you don't actually go out of body. You seem to be out of your body, out of your physical body, but if you look at your physical body as a perceived physical body, all you are is in another body, in another perceived physical place. But you've not gone anywhere. Your body is still lying there, your mind is still in your physical body, but you are in another place. But it's only perceived. It's an imagine or real. That's debatable, but it's still in the same place. And I discussed this with my brother, because he's into lucid dreaming and out-of-body experiences as well.
You mean in terms of physicality, that is in the same place?
Well, whether it's physicality or not, it's everything is always here, right now, all space, all time, all the whole universe.
But not in your physical brain.
Well, your physical brain is you talk about your mind being in your physical brain, right?
Yeah, if we talk in this way, then yes, yeah.
But it's actually your physical brain that's inside your mind. Yeah. So you are. Well, you can go inside your head now with your thoughts and find yourself. Where are you? Most of the time, you feel like you're sort of half behind your eyes, a little bit back in the centre of your brain. That's where you would find yourself, right?
Yeah.
But so is the whole universe. Everything comes to that point. One tiny finite point. Everything you experience, everything you observe, comes to that point. You observe everything from that one point. That's where you are. Even if you look down at your feet, you can look at your hand, you can look at your hand, but your observation of that hand, you can feel it, but you know that the feeling is created here. It's not really there in your fingers. It's created here. And the vision of it isn't really there, because your eyes pick up a signal and it interprets it, but it's also all your experience of yourself and everything you observe is in one tiny point in the middle of your brain. You could call your soul or your mind. That's your consciousness. That's where your consciousness is. Everything is in that one place. So all your past, all your future, all your memories, all your dreams, all your present experiences, all your emotions are all there. But all the stories of everything else, all your experience and observations of the world around you and the universe, is still always comes to that one point. With out-of-body experiences, all your out-of-body experiences, all your travels are still in that one point. And your body, your physical body, because it's part of this world, it's part of what you observe. If you observe that, say, this chair, and you say, yeah, but is the chair really there? I only experience it inside my head, inside this one point. Then you can look at your arm and say, well, that's just as real as the chair, so I experience that arm inside this head, and I experience the rest of my body. Actually, I experience my head inside that one point. Yeah. So it's sort of trying to get your head around that all of outside is actually inside. And everything is inside. Everything is only in one tiny point, without space, without time. It's all there in that one little tiny point. So you don't travel out of body.
I agree with you. I basically agree with you with one slight difference, or perhaps you can correct me if it's still the difference. I see it this way, that our brain, our physical brain, is just the terminal. It's just the terminal, which means that I am not here. The terminal is just the terminal to get the access to this physical bio robot. So I am somewhere else, but I've got constant link to this biological structure, creature.
Yeah.
So it's like an avatar, I just teleport myself into this body.
The avatar is inside a computer program or whatever, but you're putting yourself outside, that you are outside in a different place
Yeah.
to your avatar.
Yeah, that's why when I die, I'm not afraid of being
No, but
dead,
exactly.
because I don't die.
But where is this world then? Where is this physical world? If you're accessing, is it in a computer? Is it is it in space and time? Because if this exists, then the rest of the universe exists. If this is in a computer program, the rest of the universe is in the computer program.
Yeah, we might be all in computer program.
And you might be in another computer program or in the same computer program as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's no different from my interpretation, but I interpret it through consciousness, not through computer program.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not
But
far away.
that
from
means
what
that
you're
everything is here. Again,
Yeah.
your experience is, everything that you experience is in one place, in you. But where are you?
saying. Yeah, we don't know where we are.
No. But you put yourself, if you think of your brain as a physical thing and that it is a receiver for input and output and you are tuned into that brain or wired up to that brain, then you are already putting yourself separate from the brain.
Yeah.
But actually, I put the brain inside the mind, that you are mind, and I put the brain as a sort of thought inside your mind. So you perceive yourself as being outside, but you're not. Everything's
No,
inside.
I understand, but let me give you this example. You know that we've got a company, one of the companies creating the the robots.
Rabbits?
No, robots.
Robots.
And it's called Boston Robotics.
Yeah.
And they are very advanced in terms of creating the machines, which behave as close to human behavior or animal behavior. So they basically, for example, they can run, they can jump, they can do flips, all kind of things in the physical reality. Now, just imagine that Google or other companies are creating on the AI. And just imagine that someone transfers this AI, so the very advanced program, into this non-physical body. I mean, non-physical, non-spiritual body, but physical. And then me, as an observer, standing aside, not knowing what this robot is about, I will, so I am a guy from some tribe in the Amazon River. And I'm seeing this robot walking, looking around, looking very similar to the human being. What would I think? I'm pretty sure I would think, this is some creature, and he's observing me right now. But he looks like he's going to be very dangerous because he can do this and that. And I've seen him, for example, catching a bird within a blink of eye, or whatever else. I experienced by observing him. Oh, let's kill him because he might be very dangerous to my family, to my tribe. So they use all the weapon they have. Let's say that they did manage to catch him and put him down and descope him into parts or whatever. And they think, yeah, we killed that creature. And then the real guy, he just takes the goggle off and saying like, oh my God, another robot is offline. Some tribe just destroyed it. So this local tribe thinks, oh, we just killed the creature. Even if they take the parts, take it apart, they would just, without knowing the technology, they will assume that this is just the creature. It looks like that inside. But actually the creature is somewhere else. It was just the avatar used to experience something. And and I'm using it as a comparison to our body, that we most likely do the same, and our higher self is somewhere else. And we just behave here in a way that we think that we are in control. But who are we to think that it's us controlling what we do? Is it really us? And if I think, is it really me thinking?
What's your experience? Do you think it's you? Do you experience it as you?
What I experience, I don't know if it's relevant, because I might be tricked here. I might not be aware of if what I think is really me thinking that. How can I judge if it's me thinking
What's your experience of it? Do you think you're thinking?
No, my experience, it's me.
Well, that's it then. That's it. It's you. Because your experience is what it is.
Okay, so let's assume that this
I
biological
mean, you might be
robot-
wrong. It might be somebody else pretending to be you, but for all intents and purposes, you are you, and you're experiencing yourself as you. You're not experiencing yourself as a brain that's programmed. You're not experiencing yourself as an avatar that's being uploaded by somebody else, being played by somebody else. No, your experience is of you. Regardless of what happens afterwards or what's truth, you still have a very unique you experience. That's all it is. That's all you've got. That's all you can have. It's
because that's the only thing we can imagine, but you don't know what the reality is. We don't know.
we don't know, but
it
we
might
keep
be-
coming back to that. We
yeah.
don't know what the reality is. We can
Yeah.
only
So we still
speculate
yeah,
over
we're still
what the reality
speculating.
is. But you still have an experience of you.
Yeah, that's correct. At least I believe that me is
You
me.
don't have an experience of me.
Yeah, correct. Once again, I still believe that me is me, but I cannot prove it. And obviously, I cannot disapprove it. So, it
Well,
might-
if that's the experience, it is you. I mean, there might be more to it than that, but that experience of being you is real because that's the experience.
Yeah.
You know?
Mike. But anyway, I'm afraid that we really feel like
Run
we
out
pulled constantly into the reality.
Well,
into
because
the,
it's all
topic.
it's
But-
all connected intricately.
Yeah, but let me just ask, let's say, last question. I mean, it's not last, but one of the another questions related to time, and I'm not
Yeah.
sure what you think about it, but it's related to the. I mean, I don't know if it's fact, but the scientist called Einstein, he claimed that if you travel close to the speed light.
Yeah.
I mean, speed of light, you basically getting older slower, way slower than whoever is not exposed to such a high speed. And the closer you are, the greater the difference is. And if actually the difference is not growing that fast at the beginning, but the closer you're getting to this top speed, so let's say 300,000 kilometers per second, so let's say if you above 99%, you start creating huge difference. So you can be off for a couple of minutes traveling with this speed and come back to the Earth, and you will see that probably there's been hundreds, if not thousands, of years passing at the same time. That's completely weird. And Einstein created this relativity theory, and mathematically he proven that it's possible, and most likely this is how it is. I know it's physical area, and you're not, let's say, in favor of discussing this kind of topics. But what do you think about that?
I can't really get my head around it. I can't imagine. Well, I don't understand the maths for a start. There's no way I could understand the maths. I've seen presentations that try to explain it, and they make sense, but it's something that I can't get my head around. Trying to imagine it myself, travelling the speed of light, and of course, yeah. With the speed of light, you can get from here to Mars, say, really quickly, and back.
In your physical shape, in your physical body.
Well, yeah, if you can travel physically in that, at the speed of light, and and I don't know the theory deep enough to be able to discuss it. I understand that the faster you travel, or the further away you travel, as well, that gravity has a sort of an influence on time as well. That time travels faster than if you went out and came back and years pass. Yeah, no, I can't help you with that one. I really can't help you with that one. And the idea of imagining what you would observe if you were travelling at the speed of light, that's beyond me.
Yeah.
I've got a good imagination, but not that good.
And also, why 300,000 kilometers per second would have to be the end? Why that would be this border? Why can't we go faster, fly faster, move faster?
Yeah, well, what's so special about the speed of light? I mean,
I think that
it's got its limit, but suppose you did go faster, what would happen then? I mean, is it possible? I mean, if you think about everything that you observe, you always only observe because of light.
that's what I'm heading to. Because
Then
with your eye sensors, right?
Yeah.
If you close to the speed of light,
Maybe you
it
wouldn't see
means
anything.
You won't be able to see with your naked eye anything, because
No.
the light will not be reaching your eye because you will be flying away from this.
Exactly.
This
So
wave of
suddenly
light.
everything would go dark.
Yeah.
If you pass the point of speed of light, everything would go dark because nothing would be able to reach you.
That's very weird. And what
I mean, you're halfway. I mean, even a fraction of the way there, you've already left sound behind because you've passed the speed of sound, so you don't hear anything,
but this is
and then you don't see anything. But I mean, even in the sense of touch, maybe you don't touch anything. Maybe things just cease to exist once you passed the speed of light. I don't know.
Maybe that's this border created by the programmer. So let's call it God. Let's call it the source, whoever it is, just as a limitation for our physical beings in this virtual reality. So you cannot go further. If you go further, it's like a physical border. It's like, you cannot go outside of your phone if you are a program, right? You cannot leave your environment. You cannot go faster than this light, this speed, because then everything becomes quiet and black, and you cannot find out where you are, who you are, what you're doing, where you're going. You cannot do anything anymore, because your body is not created to be exposed, most likely to this kind of specific parameters of the environment. That's very weird, very weird. But I know it's really.
I mean, imagine if the universe goes dark because the light doesn't reach you. No, neither do you reach it. You wouldn't be able to see your hand, even though you're travelling the speed of light. Or maybe no, because even if you're travelling the speed of light, the light reflected off your hand would disappear as well. You wouldn't be able to reach your eyes, so your body would disappear.
But unless you manage to create some technological
a sort of safety bubble
structures,
within,
which help you to.
Yeah, but I mean, you have to have a light source, a separate light source within there that can actually reach you and travel with you.
Yeah, travel with you. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
So, as you said, in a bubble, but that's very, very.
The thought experiments for scientists.
Yeah. And
Not-
we know that loads
not for
of
us.
scientists been thinking about it and contemplating it, and
Yeah, and they haven't sussed it yet.
Yeah.
They haven't got the answers
Yeah.
yet.
So we as average guys, we're not going to get there.
We're
So-
not going to get that unless we're.
But very
Inspired.
interesting topic, and I know it's very physical, but talking about spiritual life is very interesting. But this physicality is also very interesting.
Well, of course it is, but it's interesting as the experience. I'm not against the physical experience, and it's just that I take my perspective from somewhere else to be able to put it all into context. And I think I've said this before as well, if I discuss things on a physical level, I'm just regurgitating what scientists have already done, and they do it so much better than me, so it doesn't help me, it doesn't get me anywhere. I'm not exploring anything new.
No, that's fine, but we can still discuss that, right?
Yeah, we can discuss what other people have talked about.
Yeah.
Of course.
Anyway, I think time is ticking. Time is ticking. You see, the time is ticking. Time is flying. So,
Having so much fun. It's gone really slow.
yeah, you see, half an hour it goes like that if you're having fun. Anyway, thanks a lot for this discussion.
Yeah, thank
Very
you.
interesting one. I mean, every topic we talk about
Yeah.
is a very interesting one.
Well,
But this
fun.
one is a very tricky one
This
because
is mind-boggling.
yeah,
It's great.
it's
nice
so
to-
difficult to
It's nice to twist your mind.
describe what time is and to define what time is. You know, even if when we talk about realities, different realities, I'm closer to describe it than to the topic of time.
Mm.
Time is completely mysterious for me. It's
Yeah.
something I cannot understand at all, and most likely because we are close in this physical reality, and that's why I'm saying when you away from your body, it doesn't matter if you're away physically or you know, or you in a different mode
Mm.
or a different state. You still you then see that the time doesn't exist. Whatever you do is like you can perform billions of tasks within a second. But on the other hand, even if you do that billions of activities within a second, it still took you 1 second, which is still portion of time. So anyway, we're not going to solve it. Thank you very much for this discussion, and thank you very much to all our viewers. I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.